Indianapolis University Writing Center, and this is video 1 in the series Language Variation and the Writing Center. At the center, we value the unique languages each writer brings into their writing and hold true that every language is valuable. Each video in this 4-part series will talk about an aspect of this truth. In this video, we'll look at how all languages are equal from a linguistic perspective. So to begin, what is a language? Let me give you 4 things that a language is. First, language in its most basic function is a tool for communication. That means that the whole purpose of language is just so that humans can communicate with one another. Second, language is rule-governed and not random. That means the way that every language puts together the sounds, words, and sentences are governed by a set of rules. These aren't rules like what you might find in a grammar book, like don't end a sentence with a conjunction, but rather these rules govern what sounds are in the language, how those sounds can be put together, how those words can be put together into sentences and in what order, and how those sentences are used in certain contexts. So don't think of these rules as prescriptive rules, like the don't end a sentence with a conjunction, but rather descriptive rules of what makes sense to another speaker of the same language. So if these rules are followed, then something will be understood and communication will be successful. Third, language is arbitrary. That means there's no real reason language is the way that it is. For example, we might all know this as a mug or a cup, but there's no reason we couldn't start calling it a snoop. And if everybody agreed upon it being called a snoop, then this would now be known as a snoop. And this isn't true just for different kinds of vocabulary words like mug or cup. This is true of all of those rules of language that I just described. So what sounds are in a language, how words are formed, how sentences are formed, those are all rules because they're agreed upon by the speakers of a language. Fourth, language is always changing. It changes the pronunciation, we add new words, and we even sometimes change how sentences are made. So if you look at the works of Shakespeare and Jane Austen, although those are written in English, they look very different than what we speak in the modern day currently. This is an example of how language is always changing. And every set of those rules that we just talked about can also change. So what sounds are in a language, how words are formed, how sentences are formed, and how language is used in different situations. So the fact that language is always changing and it's arbitrary means that every language is different. But it's really important to understand that just because they're different, they are all completely equal in linguistic terms. So that means that no language is better or more effective at communicating than another one. They're just doing it according to a different set of agreed upon rules. So it makes it impossible to create a hierarchy of languages. And this matters because that's a really disputed fact, and it often leads to language prejudice, as we'll talk about in our upcoming videos. In the light of these truths at the Writing Center, we not only value every language that a writer knows and chooses to use, but we encourage writers to draw upon their knowledge of multiple languages in their writing. If you're interested in learning more about what a language is, check out our resources in the description below and be on the lookout for video 2 in this series, What is a Dialect? Thanks for watching.